Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with the opportunity to have discussions and to create space on all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces every other Sunday, and we have one scheduled to drop this upcoming Sunday, so be sure to meander over to our website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we are available on 12 different podcast platforms for your listening leisure, and we provided you with access to the links in the description down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time we post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today our topic of discussion is education, and of course we're talking about the education that starts at home. And in today's conversation, we're going to be talking about the best way to prep yourselves and your children by building a foundation that gives us an opportunity to remain open-ended. And I think that this is an important conversation to have, because as we become more and more globalized, as we become more cross-pollinated across different cultures, traditions, norms, as our histories come into juxtaposition with one another, it's important that we ensure that we approach new conversations, new settings with the appropriate lens. And a lens that is open-ended is a lens that allows itself not to become closed and contorted by prejudice. And so I guess the heart of our conversation today is attitudes and behaviors around prejudice. And I think prejudice is a really easy trap for all of us to fall into. And I use the word trap with emphasis because I think sometimes we can feel so confident about the way that we approach new experiences based on previous experiences that we end up being the reason why these new experiences create this loop and this confirmation that we're right? And the thing about prejudice is that prejudice really does influence and it informs our way of perceiving. It informs our way of seeing the world around us. So when we do have an experience, and with that experience we create a heuristic, which is essentially what a prejudice is. We create this short and quick and dirty rule about how to approach settings that have similar characteristics with these heuristics in mind, so that we can be more nimble, more agile moving forward. Whereas there are certain things in life that can never be distilled, simplified without losing value and losing information that is going to continually not only enable you to grow and expand, but also to have the opportunity to be observant and cognizant of the growth and expansion of people around you and people who come from different walks of life to you. So when I talk about prejudice, when I talk about those quick and dirty rules, those heuristics that we form, and sometimes the ways that we can create confirmation bias by forming a prejudice and by looking at the world in a way where we're constantly looking for information that confirms and validates the prejudice that we have. Areas where this really will hinder us is when we do it with people. And I am someone who recognizes that there are overarching generalizations that we can draw about culture, about tradition, about history, about societal norms, because these things are communicated by, representatives of specific cultures. If we want to, let's say, travel to a different country or experience new food or, just immerse ourselves in a new way of thinking or a new philosophy to us, but is old and ancient to maybe a different group of individuals, then we can read up or we can learn up or we can use our previous experiences with people who have, maybe come from those certain walks of life or have, their beliefs informed by those specific things and have a general sense of how to navigate. But I think where we make the error is where we erase people's individualities and their identities behind these generalizations and behind these norms. I think that it's very important that we all recognize that all of us, our individuality might be informed by the experiences, by the environments, and by the religion, the culture, the people that we grew up with and around, but it does not negate our individuality, and it will never negate our individuality. And we always do ourselves a service when we reserve judgment about people, about specific people, one-on-one. And I have to talk very strongly about this because I've realized that a lot of us go through life feeling very confident about the experiences that we're going to have in the future because they're so deeply informed by the experiences that we've had in the past. And we lose out on having beautiful experiences with different individuals where those cultures, those norms, those beliefs will translate differently because of their individuality when we feel so certain about people because of the prejudices we have formed. So I think this is education that starts at home, because I think people who feel comfortable and who feel confident navigating the world around them and making assumptions about individuals based on prejudice that they have about their culture, their tradition, their histories, these people often find themselves in situations where they're losing really big, and not just on meeting people who will show that their beliefs are different and not on purpose, because I don't think any of us really care to navigate the world around us trying to disprove other people's prejudice. I can tell you, me, myself, and I, if I am meeting someone and I feel myself being confronted by their prejudice, I feel that they're trying to find a way to make me fit into the prejudices or the assumptions that they already have about someone who looks like me or who is my gender or any aspect of my first dimension of diversity that they're trying to use to put me in a box. I am completely uninterested in continuing that conversation, maintaining a connection with that person. Nothing in me is motivated to try to disprove other people's prejudice about me. That is work they need to do independently. But it makes it so that it's like a double-edged sword, right? Because not only am I not the kind of human being who is going to go out of my way to disprove or to dispute your prejudice, I'm going to protect myself from it. I'm also the kind of person that when I see it, it really does make me feel like, how many people are losing out on the opportunity to have really, cool person to connect with and have a conversation with simply because they're approaching new settings with these uninformed beliefs. And I think that it's a really pervasive thing. And I think as we start to break barriers, as we are breaking barriers, as we are showing people, hey, people who look like, sound like, talk like me show up in all of these spaces where traditionally that might not have been the case, or that doesn't work within the way that you've typecasted, certain individuals. I think that it's less and less the case where the anomaly or the unconventional or the untraditional feels inclined to prove themselves and to prove their place in environments that you don't seem to think or that others might feel is a misplacement or it doesn't align. So I think all of us need to work on our own prejudice, on our own predisposition to be prejudiced and to approach settings with prejudice. And prejudice isn't racism, by the way. So when we talk about the ways that we look at people and the expectations and the intentions and the assumptions that we form about people, racism is like systematic, it's oppressive, it's hateful. Whereas prejudice is just misinformation applied very broadly. It's misinformation, and any information that you distill from previous experiences that you put on new experiences is misinformed decision making. It's misinformed logic. in my opinion. And I think that more and more you're going to find that you yourself don't even recognize the amount of opportunities you're missing out on because you're approaching this world with these prejudices in place, coloring the way that you see people who show up differently than you, or who speak differently than you, or who have different cultures than you. And it makes it so that you are the one who is putting yourself in the box based on the limited beliefs that you yourself carry, and no one else really has the responsibility of helping you outside of the box that you put yourself in, simply by placing other people in different boxes. So I do believe that this is the education that starts at home. It starts with ourselves. I think sometimes prejudicial sort of navigation, when we navigate different settings with our prejudices intact and in place and seeking to be validated, we create realities that align with our prejudice. So we create situations that maybe allow certain behaviors to come out that you feel validates and confirms your prejudice, when there could be other things that are informing those behaviors. Like the one thing that I can say is a personal pet peeve is when people speak so confidently about the who because of what they can see, because of the what. And I think that what someone does on a day-to-day, week-by-week, monthly basis can be informed by so many different things that the only person who can validate that what coincides with the who is the person that you're observing. And if you lack the confidence or lack the relationship to build the bridge between the what and the who, then who are you to inform your sense of those people with simply those observations? Observations is not even half of the story. It's like maybe 1/3 of the story. And yet we still feel so confident that with our observations, informed by our bias, informed by some prejudicial, cultural specific thinking, is enough to give us a real understanding of why someone shows up the way they do, of what that person is thinking when they're showing up the way that they are, and so on and so forth. So I think that this is important because I think that as we become more diverse, as our workspaces become more diverse, as we start to interact with people from different walks of life, from different settings and different places, who can really do a lot of good by just having conversations with these people. Don't limit yourself and cut yourself from having relationships with people who come from different walks of life than you because you show up deeply prejudiced. Like someone who really does like not work on their prejudice, and all of us have prejudice, right? Like all of us work and operate with generalizations. It's like a cognitive processing schema where we create these rules to help us navigate without always feeling very overwhelmed by the amount of information that we take in. And I recognize that there are ways that I inform prejudice that are helpful to me, and there are ways that inform prejudice that are just not helpful to me. I am constantly working to make sure that I hold off on prejudice, right? That I reserve judgment. So where it is that I want to form a rule or a generalization because of one person who represents a place or a space that I have not really had exposure to, I hold off because that individuality, that person's individuality, trumps everything else, right? Individuality trumps culture, it trumps tradition, it trumps social norms, it trumps anything and everything that I can read about objectively about how certain people show up in certain spaces. And I always have to remind myself that I will never meet enough people to feel so confident that what it is that I've personally experienced expands across the entire community of individuals who are informed by that specific setting. And that goes for everyone, right? Like that goes for everyone. It does not matter how many people you meet who represent a specific religion, setting, tradition, fill in the blank. You're never going to have enough information to feel confident to typecast an entire group of individuals. And if you feel that way, then you need to work on your prejudice. I'm sorry to say, and that's education that starts at home, because you limit yourself, but you also end up limiting the people that you're being prejudiced against. And we don't want to do that. I mean, at least I'm thinking that someone who's focused on growth and expansion, who wants to see the world in new ways, who wants an opportunity to have their beliefs challenged, who wants an opportunity to grow, wouldn't want to navigate in the world around them with their prejudice unchecked, right? And so that was a conversation that I thought to have as I really think about what education really enables us to show up in the world with our individuality preserved, intact, at the forefront. And part of that involves respecting and recognizing that you're not the only person who's an individual in this world. We are all individuals in this world first. And the best way to preserve our sense of individuality is to also recognize and see the individuality of the people around us. In any case, that is it for today, but definitely not all food for thought that I think is really warranted and relevant for all of us. And I think that it's a nice casual conversation. Sometimes we talk about prejudice and it can be prickly and it can be uncomfortable, but I think this is my way of broaching the topic of prejudice fairly neutrally, because it's from the lens of education. Like, this is the way that we enable ourselves to build a foundation that allows ourselves to expand continuously and not allow limiting beliefs to block and stunt our growth. Now, before letting you go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our Facebook page, so definitely be sure to tune in. Now, these events are paid events, so if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, then I do suggest that you take a look at one of our package plans. Yes, so we do offer package plans that give you unlimited access to our live events, as well as access to webinars and workshops that we offer over and above our live events, largely focused on self-mastery. And if you are concerned about pricing, please don't be. We have incorporated a new payment solution, Afterpay, that gives you the opportunity to make payments in 4 installments over a period of 6 weeks, rendering our programming more accessible to every one of you. So definitely food for thought for you as you think about joining and participating in our Game Changer community. You yourself are a game changer, and that starts with being the change that you want to see in this world. Now, we are on the road to 1K, so definitely give us a follow, subscribe, follow us on all of our social media platforms. Leave a comment down below as to how you're keeping your prejudice in check, and I look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.
Some days I just feel like no one's listening. Some days I just